All right, guys, welcome back to another Real Talk episode. Today, we are going to be talking about standardizing your setups. And I've talked about this in the past a little bit. I've been a little bit more provocative about how I've said it, like stop buying ammo. We're going to talk about that, but I first have to give a shout out to Navy Man. I forget, there's a series of numbers after his name, but his videos have been around for a long time. I've watched his videos for a long time. He has the no step on snake doormat. It's all yellow. All of his videos are pretty much the same format. So you'll recognize it if you just search it on YouTube. Check out Navy Man and subscribe to his channel. I'm a fan of that guy. But with that being said, he took it to a new level, and I want to talk a little bit about it today. But before we do, I just want to shout out rangedaybro.com if you want to support the channel. There's a discounts page over there. There's a loadouts page. If you guys shop using any of the discounts or loadouts links or discount codes, it will support the channel. So thank you for doing so. Also, free way to do so is like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Rumble. Follow me on X. Subscribe to our email list over there at rangedaybro.com. And also, we have a Patreon now. So if you guys are interested in that, check that out. So now that we got all that out of the way, what exactly do I mean and what did he mean? And I've been talking about this for a minute, and particularly with regard to ammunition is what I've kind of based it on, but he took it to a whole new level. But again, what do I mean? Let's just start with this. If you have a setup, if you have multiple setups like me, right? This is my full-time job now. Now, in the past, I had a day job, and even then especially rather, but even now that this is my full-time job, it is very hard to remember things because we're human, we forget things very easily. And when you pick up a rifle, you want to have it be second nature where you need to hold if you're shooting out to distance. So pretty much what standardization is talking about, what I talk about when I mean that is, you really need to know what your holds are in your optic, and the best way to do that is to use one gun particularly religiously, train with one gun, one type of optic, one reticle, and one ammo type. I really mean it by ammo type, but it has to do more with the gun because you can only remember so much. And when push comes to shove, and if you're ever in a two-way range situation, which I have never been, then you're gonna have the reasoning part of the brain is gonna shut off, the memory is gonna shut off, you're gonna be in fight or flight mode. So you're gonna literally lose all your fine motor skills. So you're gonna forget everything that you train for. It's like everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face, right? That old quote. It's got a lot of meaning to it. And all I mean by that is if you train so much with one setup that you know what it's gonna do when you put it up to your eye, that's what you really want to achieve. And to do so, like I said, Navy Man took it a whole step further. He's talking about using the same optic on the same setup, so on and so forth. I don't think you need to buy 6 of the same scope. Now, if you could, that'd be great, right? If you're starting from scratch and you're gonna build an 11.5, a 14.5, and an 18-inch gun, you know, having the same piece of glass on all 3 of them, that actually wouldn't be very realistic in my opinion, because on an 18-inch, you'd probably want something more than a 1-10. But the idea that he was bringing up is like, hey, I need to standardize my reticles. I need to standardize my ammunition. And I don't want to put words in his mouth. Go watch his video. But that's what I took away from it. And I've been saying this for a long time. I made a video, a YouTube short that people were clowning me on. And I brought up, hey, stop buying ammunition. And what I meant was stop buying any type of ammunition. Like stop buying 15 different types of ammunition. If you want to buy a bunch of different types of ammunition when you first get a gun to figure out what the gun likes best, sure, go ahead. But at the end of the day, figure out what's cheap and relatively affordable. That's still good quality ammunition. For me, it was AAC, even though I'm seeing that kind of going downhill, but we'll talk about that another day. But you can get that shit for 55 cents a round for 77 grain OTMs. 50 to 55 cents is pretty great. You can bulk buy that. That's as cheap as I can buy FMJ from Academy at the brick and mortar store. And then if I use that ammunition, even if it's not the greatest, even if it's consistently, 1.5 to 2 inches, at least I know with this gun, with this optic, and I have thousands of rounds, I can afford to buy hundreds, if not thousands of rounds of that ammo and train with it. I know what it's gonna do when I put this up to my eye, right? I don't have to second guess, especially in a real world scenario where there's unknown target distances. He was talking about more particularly in a competition type setting, but it's the same idea, right? When you put the glass up to your eye, even if you know the distance, and I know my hold is typically 3 mils with the 77 grain OTMs from AAC, if I end up putting a different type of ammo in there that day, I'm gonna have a different hold, even if it's slightly off. So it all matters, and what the whole principle, the whole idea behind this topic is like, you want this all to become so second nature that this rifle is an extension of you. Like when I say close your eyes and put your finger to your nose, you can do that, right? You know where your nose is at. I went a little high there. But you can do that. Where's your belly button? You know where that's at, right? In relation. You want this gun to be an extension of you so that when you pick it up, you're not wondering where your misses are happening. I talked about this in my other Real Talk recently as well. in real life, there's no backstop, there's no berm. So in real life, if you're missing off one side of the plate to the other side of the plate or the target, whatever you want to call it, there's no berm, there's no splash to show you where you're missing, right? So it's really important to know these intimately, to understand what it's going to do at different distances, and to really, and the way I would say, like, to go about it, you don't need to go sell everything you have and buy all one optic type like Navy Man was talking about, because a lot of you probably have more than one setup. But what I would just encourage you to do is use and train with one setup and get to know it so well with one type of ammunition, with your one reticle. And obviously, if you have the dough, if you want to, if you can forward plan and think far enough into the future to put the same optic and the same reticle on the multiple different platforms, then great, that's even better. But and there's another I already went off in the deep end, like with the main point of the video, but standardization to me also has to do, and I've been doing this for years, it just so happens because I have preferences, right? Like, I'm putting the same stocks, the same pistol grips, or mostly the same, right? Like, I have a selection of stocks, I have a selection of like acceptable, if I'm building something, like, I know my selector is going to be a Radian Talon safety selector, ambi selector. I know I'm going to put a Geisley ambi airborne charging handle in the upper. I know I like a B5 SOP mod or a gunfighter stock. You know, those are like my generic plug and plays, right? I love an airborne charging handle. I love the Geisley G2S trigger. So that everything is as familiar as possible as far as what I'm interacting with and the controls on the gun. And there's a lot less of like a learning curve, right? Now, that's the beauty of the AR platform, mil spec. If you go pick up an AK, obviously it's going to throw you off. You can't put AR parts on an AK in most cases. So, you know, that's with regard to like my builds. I've been standardizing and trying to get all my optic heights at the same height. So I'm training in the same manner every single time I pick up the gun. Even if I'm picking up another gun that's not this one, and that may have a different barrel length, or it may have a different reticle in the optic, right? So there's still some things I need to learn and remember, or you know, put on a sticker and put on a stock for said rifle, as much as possible is standardized with that rifle and across all my rifles. So you'll notice most of my builds have the same rails. Like the Mark 16 rail is one of my favorite rails. All of them that I can afford to put them on, or that they send me enough for, because Samson does send me these VFGs, I put the VFGs on there. So you'll notice, like, in the guns that don't have the same capabilities as these, like this Griffin with the ACOG, they just don't get shot very much. It's a bad example because I just got that one in. But you'll notice, again, Mark 16 rail, like all these builds I've been doing lately have the same rails. They have the same grips. I like the A17 grip or the K2. I used to like the Reptila grip, but got away from that one. But again, that gun right there has the optic height at 1.5. So it's a little bit lower, and it takes a lot of getting used to. When I'm bringing that gun up, but I'm on a timer, like, you know, when that timer goes off in real life or on the range, like, kind of wipes the slate clean, and you start to forget things, right? If you've shot competitions, you know what I'm talking about. You got a plan, you got your stage planned out, you hear that beep and you're like, oh, what was I about to do? You know what I mean? It's like you instantly almost forget. It's such a strange phenomena, but everything, if you notice, if you watch the channel for long enough, you'll see that everything on the channel, all my builds that I use regularly, eventually evolve and morph into something like this. But I would go even one step further to say, like, this is the gun that's been getting the majority of my attention in my training lately. So if I'm going out not to film content, just to train, just to hang with buddies and do some long range shooting, this is typically the gun I'm gonna bring, because this is the one I'm most comfortable with. And to that point, don't stay in your comfort zone. Push yourself outside your comfort zone when you're training and whatnot, but try to standardize wherever you can, right? That's kind of the point of the video. If you're like me and you have a ton of different setups, great. That's a great thing to have. Proud of you. You know, no one should tell you how many of these you should have. But at the same time, you know, there's probably one that has all of your nicest attachments on it. I would call that your primary fighting rifle. Like this one right now is kind of kitted out with the most of my preferred items. I may even switch over the attacker to this 12.5 Geisley Super Duty upper. We'll see. We have some things in the works. We may be getting a 12-inch LaRue upper with a quad rail, which is going to be a total vibe. Also working on potentially getting a 12.5-inch LMT upper, maybe piston, maybe not. We'll see what D. Wilson is willing to work with us on. But we're going to have some other options, but I'm really starting to get away from the 14.5. This isn't a barrel length conversation video. That's a conversation we've had plenty of times. That's not what this is about. But again, you'll notice a lot of these things are standardized and the same on here, but I may be moving this piece of glass because this is the nicest optic I own, the 1-8 attacker, the most durable, to either this 12.5 or some other potential upper that may take the place of this guy in the future. But you all know what I'm talking about. There's definitely one rifle that, unless you're just like completely balling out of control, that has all of your Gucciest, your nicest stuff on it. So that's the rifle I'd encourage you to go out and train with and try to standardize your ammunition and everything else that we just spoke about, like to that one rifle, and just put the most time investment in that one. You know, you're still not going to memorize your, I mean, I shoot this gun all the time, probably once or twice a week, and I still don't memorize I mean, I kind of do now for the known distances I shoot at regularly. Like I know for 455, we're at like it's like 2.5 to 3 mils, so about like 2.75 mils, kind of bracket the 2 and the 3 on the target, and usually it's a left to right wind, so I'm holding left edge. So again, I know from just shooting that distance very regularly, but if you put me in front of like a 600-yard target, I would question it. I would definitely question it. If there's no backstop to see your splash, then, you know, then it's a little bit of a guessing game. So I'm still definitely going to probably tape a little dope sheet on here, or get some kind of, use one of my cheat sheets, my scope cap stickers from Walters Object Security. But that's what it comes down to, is like, even if you do this day in, day out, when shit hits the fan, when that fucking beeper goes off, it would just make it as much second nature as you possibly can. And the less things you have to worry about, the less things that are foreign or new. If you're spreading your training out across 4 different platforms, like, you're never going to get to know any one of them intimately. So like, I would just say, like, what I'm trying to do myself is picking one, like, do-it-all fighting gun, like 12.5, 11.5, we'll see, maybe 12-inch 5.56 gun, with a really good piece of glass, probably put the attacker on it, and then just train with that. It's really been this one lately, and there's nothing wrong with the Voodoo. It's just, it's not waterproof. Found out from the EOTech website. Maybe the new version is that they came out with that at SHOT Show, but it's just weatherproof. But get one fighting 5.56 gun to kind of be your do-it-all, and then one DMR. And lately that DMR has been the HK. I know that one pretty intimately. But again, using one, and it matters more when you start getting those further distances, but you know, most people don't have the ability to shoot past 100 or 200 yards. And I would encourage you guys to go find those ranges and network with people. Find a guy who's got some farmland and see if you can go out there and shoot, because it is the gift of long range shooting. That's another real talk topic. It's incredible. It'll change your life. And shooting long range at steel is phenomenal. You'll never want to shoot paper, you know, again, really, especially at, I mean, no one's shooting paper at long distances. That's just silly, because you don't know if you hit or not unless you drive out there every single time. But anyways, that's another topic, but it matters more once you get out to 300, 400, 500 yards, especially with a 308. It's like a DMR on a smaller plate. Obviously, the bigger the plate, doesn't matter quite as much, but those, when you're starting to push out and the atmospheric starts to become more, play a much larger role than like 1, 2, or even 300 yards, that's when it matters a lot more. So like, that gun really loves 168 grain Federal Sierra Gold Medal Match King. So that's the ammo I put through it. That's ammo. Every time I see it, I try to buy it, even though it's ridiculously expensive. I wish there was a cheaper option that did something quite as good as that Sierra did, but that gun just loves it. It shoots it lights out. Now this LMT back here is definitely a contestant for taking over for this role, but it's I guess more of a battle rifle role, I guess you could say, for right now. Even though it has a 5 to 25, it's a lot lighter. I don't know, I'm still deciding, but that shot pretty lights out too. But the whole point is, like, if I split my time amongst these two rifles back here, I would never know one really, really well and understand it really, really well. So, because they'd have different reticles. Now, if I could afford to, I'd love to put the same reticle on both. This is a 16.5-inch gun, this is a 16-inch, and then, but even then, like, chrono them, it'd be different ballistics, so I'd have to memorize different dopes for each. So that's where I get into, like, I'm not telling you to go sell your guns, I'm not telling you to just buy and replicate the same gun 5 times over and over and over again, because it is nice to have a tool for every job. What I would say is find the tool that does most jobs okay, and then get to know it extremely well. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. And I probably took way too long to explain that, but that's essentially what I'm trying to say. And me doing this full time, me really trying to push myself and dedicate myself to this craft and get better, still to this day, I have to check my little dope sheet on my phone every time I lay down with this gun to shoot it out the distance. I just want a refresher, right? Because I'm just like, I second guess myself. It's like, well, it's like when you're trying to go somewhere and you kind of remember without using the GPS how to get there. You're like, I'm pretty sure I make a left here, but I'm not sure. Let me just put it in my GPS to double check. That's me checking my dope every time I lay down with this gun, and I know it really well. And so do I know that HK really well. So it's still not, and I haven't done it well enough because the nature of YouTube is I have all these rifles coming in and you guys want to see new stuff. The algorithm wants new stuff. No one wants to see the same rifle 15 times over again. And I got people complaining in my comment section like, dude, I like your channel, but you talk about the same things over and over again. Well, dude, it's like if you want to have a legit review, if you want my honest opinion, like it takes more than one range trip to get to that point. So that's I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it. It's a bummer sometimes because it is always fun to play with the new and exciting stuff, and like it's kind of a bummer to just go back to the old reliable, so to speak, and not because you want to just take all this stuff and put it on the new upper that you just got. But if you got this thing zeroed, I'm not like this is thing. If this is my fighting gun, I'm not touching this thing. Like it's dialed in. Screws are tightened up. It's staying right where it's at. And I want to know if I don't touch it for 10 years, which God forbid I never do, but like if I go in a coma and come out 10 years later, I can pick it up and it's going to be in the same exact spot, same exact hold. That's kind of the idea. When you need it, it's ready. You're ready. You understand it. It understands you. That's it. That's all it comes down to, I guess. So I don't know, guys. Lights, switches, all that, you know, as much as you can standardize, I would say just pick one gun, because as beautiful as it would be to put the same kit on every rifle, the same materials on every rifle, it just gets so expensive. These lights are expensive. Everything's expensive in this gun world. So yeah, with that being said, if I could save you some money over at rangedaybro.com on the discounts page, check that out, guys. So we have a bunch of affiliates over there. Pretty much anyone you could shop with on the internet today. Peace of Mind Guns, Primary Arms, Midway USA. The biggest one is Brownells. Huge fan of Brownells, and there's a 10% off discount code over there. So you can check that out. Use that link. Subscribe to our email list. Follow us on Rumble, X, like, comment, subscribe, and Patreon. Check it out. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. Let me know what you want to see for the next Real Talk topic. Love you guys. Christ is King. Take care.